A huge shout out to the overthinkers.
An overthinker. He watches the show.
To the overthinkers, shout out Buffet too.
All about Fetu, this is Parker, yeah. Thank you, overthinkers.
Keep inspiring the next generation.
Shout out to the overthinkers. Thando kuphela. Much love.
To my overthinkers, mamela ubuchopho ngeke buphume buyakhula nizinja nikhokho yazini as overthink siya overachieve.
I'm stealing that. I've stolen that one. I've stolen it.
As overthinking, so overachiever. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is Jordaan Milford. I am your host, and this show is the place for me and you to come here and speak about South African football, things that are concerning this game that we love. Here comes Zanzi, but also when we go overseas, every now and then we'll go overseas, but it's mostly about Africa and mostly about South Africa. So if you're joining for the first time, Monday to Thursday, we're here. Monday to Thursday, we're here. We're going to be discussing things that are close to our hearts as South African fans, and I get to hear from you. The show is a very interactive show. So that means that I want to hear what you guys have to say. And that means that you just click on that button that says multi-guest at the bottom of your screen on TikTok. You have to be following me. And then you can jump in and we can have a conversation about whatever topic we have for that day. Guys, the previous episodes are available in full on YouTube. So if you have missed something, or you came in late one day, or you like what you hear and you want to hear more of it, on YouTube, all of the episodes that we've had over the past 2 years are there and available in full. You can listen to everybody speak. We also have a WhatsApp group, the official Overthinking Football WhatsApp group, which exists so that we can have these conversations offline as well. If you want to join that WhatsApp group, it is a very vibrant place, 24 hours of speaking. You can send a message at 2 a.m. and somebody will answer. If you want to be part of that group, head on over to YouTube, click on subscribe, click on join, and you'll gain access. Today, we're going to be speaking about all things PSL coaching. So, umnikazi wendaba, uCichimpi. He got fired today. Pablo Franco Martin was fired yesterday, I believe. Apologies, yesterday. And it brings a lot of questions about, right? Does the UEFA Pro license matter in the SA context? Are the coaches being supported well by the teams? Are the teams finding the right coaches? We're going to speak about all types of things to do with PSL coaching. And the first question I'm going to ask each of the panels is very simple. What do you think of the coaching standard in SA? How do you feel it is? Then we'll speak about, I'll ask you a question about something to do with these coaches. So the reason why I'm asking this question is, of course, because Pablo Franco Martin was fired, but also because when we look at it, look, the closest team to Mamelodi Sundowns last year was 23 points away. We're seeing coaches getting fired and hired and rehired and refired, and all of these things are happening. And we have to now really drill down and ask the question that, is our coaching getting better? Are the coaches being given the proper resources? What is making it that our teams are not going forward? And if you look at the guys that we have up here in this picture, you have obviously Pablo Franco Martin, former supporting assistant coach of Real Madrid. He was brought in to make things better, and we were told about how he was scouted and hey, these things would be great. We look at Abo Khoza. Khoza, for those who don't know, Coach Foltz, now coaches in Mamelodi Sundowns, but he has a history. Fired by Gallants, hired by Amazulu, fired as a coach, wanted as technical director, left, came back, now he's at Sundowns. You have Dylan Kerr, who came back into the country to coach Barumo Gallants, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he's gone. You look at Sid Ramovic, somebody who is spoken of very highly by people like Tim Sugazi, spoken about UEFA Pro licenses and all of that stuff. But honestly, has he done better than Tantans? You look at Tantans, always hired when things are hot, when things are going wrong, fired, goes back down, comes back up, hired again. He's our Sam Allardyce. You look at Abo Mulifintseki, you look at guys like John Maduka, who's been at Royal AM for a very long time right now, but is there any value that is adding to the league, having been in that role? Are we seeing any changes? You look at Bomogan Mamila, Coach Mamila, who coached Chipa at some point, was the CEO at some point, was the MD at some point, was at Moroka Swallows, was at Baroka. When we look at coaching as a whole in South Africa, it's very unstable. There's no stability in the role in terms of the development of the coaches, the development of the players, the development of the teams, the progress of the teams. So I want us to have a proper conversation about coaching in the PSL, and let's see what we can come up with. So first question for those who are going to jump in, feel free to jump in. It is free. Bottom of the screen, click on multi-guest. It's not made for some people. Everybody can jump in. So click on the button at the bottom of the screen, jump in, and let's have a conversation about the coaching standard and status in South Africa. How do we feel about that? Okay, let's see who's here so we can have the first panel. Okay, guys, remember there is a timer. So I'm doing this so that we can all have time to speak. And can we please respect each other? The longer you speak, the less time you're giving to other people. And I want to make it as fair as possible for everybody to be able to come in and contribute. So let's begin. Kuma, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's my background noise too loud for you guys.
I think, so, yeah, if you could please just turn it down a little bit.
Okay, let me quickly. Hey, how's it, buddy?
Hey, sharp, bye. Yeah, bye.
Oh, sharp, Omar. Kirawe, na kirabadi. Hey, it's
Ke ma ka ke kutlwa voice ko back man ke rao. Maybe Kumo o bua ka koloi ha pa ke tsebe. Okay, Kumo, what do you think about the state of PSL coaching right now?
My guy, why you thought about coaching? It leaves nothing to be desired. But then again, can you really blame the coaches? Because we live in an era where we have a bus driver who's an owner, who's a chairman, who's a player, who's a kid manager, and also a coach, but he also had a coach. Like, my thing is, like, if we really gonna have to judge our coaches, because we know most of them do not have carte blanche. If you really want to judge them, can you please give them complete autonomy on their clubs, autonomy on who they signed? Can they actually implement their structures and whatnot? Then we can really say this coach is a bad coach, because we know Bradens is a phenomenal coach. Like, when you listen to him, his passion, his commitment, he's a quality coach. But now, because of, like, he hasn't really coached a proper top tier team, he's always going there when people are out of options, so he has to come in. He goes there to try and make sure the Titanic doesn't sink. So not only that, when you look at also the owners, they wanna control every action, micromanage. So the coaches hardly have any spaces to breathe and implement their philosophies and playing styles. Then you go to a team like Sundowns. First of all, you've got quality. So 50% of your job has already been done by the signings and the quality of players. Then you've got your TD. Then you also have SD or one. But then again, it also is a structure. So now I'm going to contradict myself. As I've mentioned before, like, the coach should have total autonomy on what he or who signs. But if you in the club like Sundowns, there's an SD. An SD gonna really has a say, because you as a coach can say, I'm looking for a right break that can do what I want, a combination of Trent, of Motaung and Hakimi, but ideally I would like to have Trent. Then I'm like, we don't have Trent. Let's rather give you the young boy Kwanzaa instead. So you got someone who's similar, but you didn't get the correct one. But then again, if you give the coaches that autonomy and you buy that player half-feet and his own high wages, what's going to happen? Because coaches don't stay long in the PSL team.
Does the coach have to prove that they're worthy of those financials? And do you think that of the finances? And do you think that clubs do enough when looking for a coach?
I remember, we can't really put solutions that we see going to Europe again, for obvious reasons. I was gonna say, when you've got coaches like your Mourinho and your Jurgen Klopp, they come with a perceived perception, reputation. Those guys, like, you are actually happy to have us coaching your team. But then again, if you try and do some things and say, Hashem, you don't have to prove, Papa. You can win a couple too, but that doesn't mean you're gonna get hired. Kinsey point, they whole level of CAF. Like some people like him, some people don't, even though he's coming from the European Manchester United, he still won't make it short in some other teams.
Okay. Okay, we've got about 1:30. Can I ask then, how much of this falls onto the coaches themselves? That, how much research are you doing before you land at a club? So, I mean, a lot of the PSL clubs, we know exactly what type of financial places they are, how they spend, what they do. How much of this falls to the coaches to do their own research before signing? Or is it all about the stomach?
It's always been about the stomach. It's always been about the stomach. I mean, I'm very motive. I'm very proud. So I'm a coach. I'm unemployed. Cheap and Pengezi says, my bra, come and coach my team. I know chances are I won't be staying there for more than 6 months. If I do, it's because if I get them to where they want, they're gonna go for someone who's much more celebrated. Or if I don't, I'm gonna get the chop. So, when you go to that club, you know what you're getting into, but you have to think. If I say no, what will my kids eat? You know what I mean? So stomach plays a huge role, and unfortunately, our coaches, firstly being black, not having those European club in rankings to go elsewhere, it hinders us. Only a few people can go and coach all over Africa or even Middle East in SA.
Okay. Let me go to Julius. Julius, long time, man. Welcome. Heaven. What do you think about the standard of coaching in South Africa? And do you think that the clubs are failing the coaches?
Yeah, the clubs are failing the coaches. The so-called the chairman or I think they have banal power. For me, they have too much power. They can do. And the other thing, the coaches, they just like us, If you are out of a job, then they are hiring. You just go. But the chairmen, I wish there was something they could be done, because you can look at a situation at Sekhukhune. I mean, Sekhukhune, let's say they took Sema from Polokwane City. He was doing well in Polokwane City. He was doing everything well there. They took him there, Bamudisha was Sekhukhune. Then from there, all of a sudden, assistant, second, senior coach, all of a sudden, he's fired. He's not there. All of a sudden, they post on the Facebook, happy birthday to our coach, but Redzevora is not there. All of a sudden, now he's back. We know, but so entire coach comes South Africa. I'm not sure about the other countries, but I mean, Dance, he's a better coach than that guy. That guy, for me, I was never moved in the first place. It's just that it took them a while to. But was not fear factor go Amazulu. Some coaches, you need that fear when he's in the dugout or what's a little crawl. While the shivers before. But some coaches that are hired, coach Amazulu is an ordinary coach. Not only about Kadi thinking bolo connect. You can even do better job than here. So I think the coach Dance. I mean, imagine Dance at a club like Pirates. Pirates, I remember once took a gamble Karabador.
Yeah.
When he was appointed, I mean, many of us are there. Oh, and who, Dagama, who, what. But he came, he did well. It's
so
just
then, what causes, I want to go back to point out how CM. What causes that, hore? Kiyo mutu teng CM, wamunta utlisa mutu wako Europe, and then wachiga, kimo you're back at CM. You look at 10-10s, Kumarumo Kalans, you brought Dylan Kerr, went back to 10-10s. You look at Penny. Penny was doing well at Amazulu. Now you've gone and fetched Bo Folsey, you've gone and brought in Bo Pablo Franco Martin, the rumors that they're going back. What's causing that thing?
Nka se re ke bo white or black or white or brown, because they even do these coaches this guy for khoza. I mean, they are just being pushed from one club to another. I don't know. Now I feel like I get say maybe the chairmans ke feel ba bona o kare ba bonale e ba se o sa direge selo. You know, if there's nothing happening, it's like they are not there. You know, a coach for me, a coach like Siema, a very good coach. Why intimidate? But is he respected in the game? He's not. There's a point you made, Kaka John Maduka. Is he giving something different there or Royal AM? If you are being truly honest, I won, you know, but he's there. If he I cannot fetch season Royal AM, golden arrows. You know, we saw even coach Kanu
Coach Vilakazi.
Coach Vilakazi, I think that Sipko Amazulu Ukrechi is going to take that post. And then we know he went to cheaper and stuff. I feel like the chairman when they are not doing it, they want to be visible. Chairman did this, and the chairman acted. Unlike in other countries, the chairman of Man City, but sometimes low level match go stadium, not or interest, but what he really, but well capable to do the job. You know? Okay. So I feel like the chairman international power in, to be honest.
For time's sake, let me go to Elendro. Elendro Ntangabona, how are you?
Hey man, it's been a long time, eh?
Yeah, it's been a long time. How can you guys hide, man?
Man, we've been busy, man. Work, I'm a conference, content, so stuff like that, etc.
Man, Kimnati Elendro Kietaba. How do you feel about the coaching standard of South African football? And then are clubs failing these coaches?
Yes, I would like to summarize everything up. Like the first question and the second question, I'm just gonna say things that are related to the two questions, just to save up time. My brother, the coaches are definitely the clubs are definitely failing the coaches. Like we had better coaches, Brian. Like for example, we still have good coaches. Like for example, this guy at TS Galaxy, Seth Ramovic. This guy, for me, looking at him, he is a good coach. He's not that top class coach, but he is a good coach. One understand. And then you look at a coach like him that have coached other teams. They were not supported by the clubs financially. One understand. Like they don't have the backing of the clubs. Like you look at, if I can give you an example with EPL, you know, I usually like to give example about the EPL. You look at Manchester United, they came up and then they said, Uguti, they give Eric Ten Hag the full backing and everything that he needs for the clubs. That's something that's lacking in PSL, Brayak. You will see that Amazulu has a decent coach, Brayak, a good coach. He knows that the style of play, like for example, Ubeni. There was time where Ubeni was number 2 on PSL. You understand? He was doing good, but he did not have the backing. Understand? And then I also believe Uguti, the coach must be the manager, Brayaka. The coach must be the person that picks Uguti, I want a certain player. Or he must just tell the scouts, Uguti, I want a player that's able to play like this, to play like this, to play like this. And then the scout must make it happen. We don't have things like that from the way I see things. Like they are very much leaving these coaches to like Braga, like they are on the chopping block every time. Every time when you coach a South African team, as a coach, you are on the chopping block, Braga. And then one thing is they are not patient enough. Even as supporters, that one I can agree with. Like building a team that's gonna perform at the highest order requires time. So South Africans, we are not patient enough. I understand. That's why now in these press conferences.
Can I ask, Galendro? Is there here, because you look at, for example, Chiefs, as you're going into Nasruddin Nabi. Nasruddin Nabi is going to get everything he wanted, but when Kevin Johnson was making noises about these things, you know, the checkbook didn't come out. You look at Benny, maybe we talk about locally based coaches. Benny was wanting things from Amazulu, couldn't get them. Kiobo, Pablo Franco Martin, they're getting stuff. You look at Bosid Ramovic, they're getting freedom, backing, hey, all of these things. Kilinyazo for locally based coaches.
Yeah, I would say that or but with Kelvin Johnson, yes, let's clarify this one first. I think when it comes to South African coaches, they are undermined. Like for example, I remember me and you once got into a heated argument when we were talking about Dendens Malisel, and I told you, Uguti, you remember almost that day. But I'm just saying, Uguti Ilinyaz, you can see by Dendens, Braga, Dendens is supposed to go to places, Braga. He's not the manager that's supposed to struggle when he says, "Good, I want this certain player." He knows what he's doing. You understand? With the other coaches, Bragg, I feel maybe we are still afraid of white people, because if you can look at the coaches from outside that come here, we give them everything. But with Kevin Johnson, I feel like they knew Uguti, they are gonna appoint a coach. Like they were not that serious about him. I think Uguti with Kevin Johnson, they knew Uguti, we are gonna get a coach, so we won't buy players when Kevin Johnson is still an acting coach. So we would rather spend money with the upcoming coach that's coming, which is Nabi. You understand? So I just feel Uguti, number one, South African coaches are undermined. They don't take them seriously. Just like at perfect example, just to wrap things up, I don't want to take too much of your time. Just like with Gavin Hunt, my brother. Gavin Hunt, he said Uguti Chiefs need a total overhaul of the squad. You remember? No one took him seriously. No one took him seriously. He said it. He said Uguti Chiefs need to start everything from down upwards. No one said anything. And then after he left, it was Afazwani and then Kevin Johnson and then now Nabi. So now it's where they see Uguti, they need a total overhaul of the squad. Why couldn't they see it? Now let's cut when Gavin Hunt said Uguti, the Chiefs need a total rehaul. So they are undermining South African coaches, Bragg.
Let me go to PSLK. PSLK, welcome. How are you? PSLK, are you with me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Cool, man. Good evening to everyone else. Yeah, man, it's an interesting topic we've got tonight. I think the biggest thing is we love this league, but we can all agree there's a lot of unprofessionalism. So that, for me, has a big impact. It's unprofessionalism and impatience. So I'll explain my point. Okay. You have club owners and directors and people in higher places meddling with coaches. A coach has a certain style of play, has a certain way they want to do things. And then we've had of stories of when people from upstairs want certain players to play, want the coach to do this and that. So my question is, why do you hire someone, you know full well what they're capable of, and then you still want to dictate to them how they should do their job? And unfortunately, that happens to a lot of our local coaches. And I'll give you a few examples. I'm going to mention a few names and a few scenarios, and you're going to see a trend. Rulani Mokwena at Pirates. Pirates, he slipped through the fingers of Pirates. He goes on to create history at Sundowns. Benny McCarthy at Cape Town City, he wins them the MTN 8. They let him go. Ever since he's gone, what has Cape Town City achieved? Sean Bartlett at Cape Town Spurs, he brings them back into the league, and they don't even give him 10 games or the players or anything. So there's lack of professionalism there. There's lack of trust. There's lack of patience. These are people who've gone on to achieve great things elsewhere, and they've shown that they are capable of being coaches. They're capable of doing it at the highest level. So I think for me, the biggest thing is there's lack of trust from club owners and club managers, and just not giving people enough time to show their worth.
Can I ask, how much of this is maybe based on, oh guys, I don't know who's there, but how much of this is based on fan perception? That we may be a little bit more lenient with certain coaches that look a certain way, that sound a certain way, that are a certain way, and the teams understand that we can just scapegoat the coach?
I think, you know what, right? We have to give fans credit, man. Fans are quite smart, if we're being honest. And fans pick up a trend. You, like someone mentioned earlier on the panel, that you get these European coaches who come over and they're given leeway, and in the manner in which they treated, or even their contract situations, you don't see them being ill-treated. But what we do to our own coaches is quite sad. You know, it's really sad. And I'll go back to the Rulani situation at Pirates. He's there at Pirates. He's showing great potential. And what do Pirates do? They send him to Chippa United on loan. I've never heard of a coach going on loan. Can you imagine a situation where Sid Ramovic is taken on loan to Polokwane FC, or Middendorp is loaned from Kaizer Chiefs to Supersport? I mean, that is unheard of. What goes through a coach's mind when you're sent on loan? You know, that's so we don't respect our coaches well enough. And if you look at the history, it's only our coaches who've gone on to win the league 3 times in a row. Pitso Mosimane has done it. Gavin Hunt did it. So why don't we trust our coaches? Give them the platform. History shows us that if they're trusted and they're given the right tools, they can give you the results.
Yeah. Okay. Let me bring in Black Viper. Black Viper, welcome to the show. How are you?
Shapo Soti.
Man, I'm good. Black Viper, where do you stand? Coaching standard in South Africa, where do you put it? How do you feel about it? And then, are the teams failing these coaches?
Kaya ya di coach yes raba faila. The coaches take us spending, let's say, 4 to 5 seasons. Kaya first season in your high, if afford the club something to brag about. Officing battle okay, let us give him 3 seasons then, because if umtona akala a winner the game study league, amata the top sports, let's say top 3 or a winner league first season yeah, okay, we're going somewhere with this guy. But if as I think next is substantial, especially the big teams, we will deal with it. But if he starts to win bigger things, he's gonna prove something. Then let us give him what he wants. Then start to challenge the league or take the cup games. Because Rivero was not taken seriously. Anafika Mzansi, people even called him names. So key trades are even Kadi fans like Radinyas and coaches in that.
Yeah.
And then the clubs, yes, they're letting them down. No one likes you. That's the hard part. Like no one likes you. Like I'll get off it fella teaming. You just know fella. Like first game, me fell off the league. You saw what happened. All of the games first season, Obo fella, there's too much hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Black Viper, go then. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked PSL Cape. Ronaldo fans, are we also to blame? Because I'll give you an example. Mulifinsek is coaching Kaizer Chiefs. It's not going well. Fans are angry. Every time Rekwatela coach. So they were throwing things at the coach. Meanwhile, you have management, for example, Povim Taum, who's standing in front of the police. They must calm down. We don't get angry at the teams. How much does that play into this? Because then it's easy for a team to just say, you didn't perform, we're getting rid of you, and nobody asks questions of the club. Do fans come into this?
Yeah, defense like impatient. If you can take a look at Rivero's second season, when he lost against Tshwane, and really angry that day, we wanted him out of there. Nere poster anywhere in social media, take a step, Zamai. Because we are slambala, Zamaj. We are the big team, so yes, Lorena defense, we are to blame for this. Yeah.
Okay. Since we've got a bit of time, Kumo, very quickly, what would you change with the coaching stuff? What is one thing you'd focus on changing?
With the coaching stuff?
In general, for coaching in general, what would you change? One important thing.
Can they at least make their own decisions on who they sign and who they want to let go? and how they play. That's the only thing that we want from the coaches. At least they can die on their sword with, they failed completely with their tactics. That's all I want to see from the coaches going forward.
Let me go to Julia. Same thing. Aukachincha, one thing. What would you change in terms of coaching in South Africa? Julius, Alejandro. Oh, there we go. Julius, one thing you change when it comes to PSL coaching, very quickly.
Coaching, I think I'll change. I get a bit of a contract, but Babel contract dika question chairman somehow, man, because it's vulnerable to coach, Just the rule, Babel protected in jail.
Let me go to Alejandro. Alejandro, one thing you change when it comes to South African coaching?
My brother, give the coaches some time. Give them the resources that they need, because we put so much requirements from them. We say, hey, give us top 4, give us this, but we don't give them the tools to give us those results. I understand. So I'm quite happy with my team, Kaizer Chiefs, on how they are giving Nabi the resources. Like even on an interview, he said he was given a budget, but he doesn't want to spend money. So I like that very much. We must copy Sundowns. Whether we like it or not, Braga, Sundowns has opened up the bar. So we must make sure the way they do things, especially big teams, Braga, must make sure they give the... Yes.
Sorry.
No problem.
Let me go to PSLK. PSLK, one thing you would change when it comes to coaching.
It's been a long time.
You've got 3 seconds. You've got 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, sharp. So yeah, it's fine. Give the coaches time, and then give them the players that they need to sign, and then that's about it. Make the coach the manager, because you cannot sign players for the coach. Sharp.
PSLK, one thing you change when it comes to PSL coaching?
I just want to see clubs employing or hiring coaches based on their club culture and the players that they have. You cannot have an attacking team go for a pragmatic coach and have someone who's going to defend or park the bus. So just hire coaches based on the players you have and the philosophy of your club, what you want to achieve. That's what I'll change.
Okay. Last thing, Black Viper. Uchincha in one thing, very quickly.
I'll change an XOT. You change nothing. Yeah. What's that one? Just short. Coach Esebetsang in a relaxing space. It's a call. Coach A coaching under 2 months immense pressure. He becomes the legend in the world of football. So you change absolutely nothing.
Okay. Guys, that's the first panel done. Please tap the screen. Remember, guys, there is a timer, so let's try B. Please mute. Vusi, can you please mute there? Let's all respect each other so we can give each other enough time to speak when we come in. Let me see who's here. Let in Telefon. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Mama, how are you?
Okay, man.
Wait, see, I get about Baba Nsiman. I want a space. Like Uningila.
Telefon, here's the situation. Coaching. How do you feel about coaching in South Africa? That's the first question. And then number 2, technology and resources. How important are these things? We had Coach Kanu here a couple of months ago, and he taught us, he showed us something when he said that, for example, Golden Arrows, at the time he was asking for analytical analysis software, and they didn't even have that. How much does that go into our coaching standard and where it is right now?
Your question is that saying, why is PSL coaching so bad? I think we need to just go a step back to why are we saying that our coaching is bad? What makes it bad? Let me ask you that question.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
What makes it bad? I think there's a development problem over and above everything else. And I think the coaches themselves don't take themselves seriously enough, if I can put it like that. That would be my point.
When we say our coaches don't take themselves seriously, these kinds of answers are very vague. And Lorona as Diweng, we are never specific about the answers we give. Ekare rutlile Black Viper abua, OT abua. Okay, I know this is right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that rhetoric and that sentiment, it then let the owner themselves believe it. Or no, you guys are not good enough. Hence, Baba Safi the requisite resources and the time to do what they need to do. But at the same time, we forget that interview recently. And this is a business, end of the day. And football is a results business. If you do not deliver, Skatsok was very short because everybody is impatient. If it's not the board or the people that are the chairman at the club, Lerona is the way we are very impatient. But so
well, I think just to counter, the point that I'm making is more about if you accept the contract every day, Marumo Callens is in trouble, they call Talifang, Talifang arrives. And they don't give him anything, then Talifang does well and they fire him. If we're in contract negotiations and your contract, Shem, whatever they put in those contracts never favors the coaches, but you carry on doing it, they will hold you to that. If you don't go out and maybe, you know what, yes, in PSL, let me go to Tanzania for a little bit. You know, like, for example, Fadlu Davids is doing amazing in Tanzania, for example. That's what I mean about taking themselves seriously, because Lewena, after a while, if you're Sam Allardyce, you'll be Sam Allardyce forever.
Yeah, this is also true. But how can I about to like Borulani? I think I get Sikemang Nabua before Atwala is that everything has gone up a level. Right? Everybody needs to chase Sundowns, and Sundowns is structured in a certain way. But I don't think there is enough of a, can I say, punishment or repercussions for underperforming against Sundowns. People we've just accepted Sundowns kidita and dominate everybody. So why should we even get better? I don't even know if clubs themselves even want to do that. But I'm anyways. As long as we've got our requisite sponsors, Ronaldo Wengu are sharp, right? And also Lenya, so that you spoke about earlier on. Lenya, so is a serious thing. We need to kebona kanna ntwana tsaka tse di coachang. Ke ba coacher homonate training session ho sharp. Then we had Bournemouth FC come here and host a clinic. These Bournemouth guys are doing the exact same draws that I'm doing. Only the training session after that do you guys now see. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And maybe it's an inferiority complex, it's a racial thing, because the foreign coaches, they will get all the backing that they need. And sadly, not even sadly, they do perform, Shem. But I don't understand, our coaches, are we just not as good as them? Or what's happening here? I'm not sure what's going on. And it does go back into not just development of players, but development of coaches themselves. For the fact that a B license Yasafa only came out this year. I was like, which is crazy to me. If you want a B license, Tanzania, go Namibia to get one. Marasafa eating, you can't what's happening here. But then you still want kids to get better and develop kids. Before you develop the kids, the coaches must be developed and taken seriously. And these are the kinds of issues that a fan that's outside won't even look or even think of. You just say, whether you suck. Then the next one comes in as a high turnover. It's a terrible thing.
Okay. That's Talifang, guys. Talifang also goes live. He's more of the European, but we're coming back. I know you're getting into Pirates now. So he's more of that football. So please check him out. Also a coach. So he also does lives. Let me go to Uvelile. Mtaka baba.
Bav.
Unjani mtaka baba?
Bobo suzwile.
Na indaba. Coaches, how do you feel about the standard you're coaching in South Africa? And what is the technology? How much does technology have to do with this? My resources lao, man.
Coaches are taken serious in this country. That's why they are hired. And it's up to them as human being and professional enough of whether they see the environment that they've been hired to good, they will deliver the goods or not.
Yeah.
If you think as a coach you're gonna buy some players for the team, you alone in South Africa, you are kidding. Not even in South Africa, even if you can go abroad. Ancelotti didn't buy, or the previous coach Real Madrid didn't buy Ronaldo. The team bought Ronaldo to increase the profile of the team. It's not about the coaches only. Coaches are employed in order to implement their philosophy and make the team perform on the players that have been given to them. They can add there and there 1 or 2 or 3, but 80% of the players, they are not bought by the coach who just arrived at that particular team.
Yeah.
And also, if we want to say coaches, are they serious or not, or are taking their job serious or not? Okay, simple example. Take Gavin moving from 7 Stars to Black Leopards when they first promoted, moving from Cape to Toyando, where they train even a ground in El Chan, but did wonders with that team without any resources. And sometimes it shows you about the person who's prepared to go far, doing his own research and making sure good he produces the goods in a special field that has been hired to do. Anga's forgetting his name. You've got your former head coach, you are already in an environment at Kaizer Chiefs whereby you are the head of youth development. Already you are in a structure as Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
Which means if you take yourself seriously as an employee of that organization, you know already what's happening on the senior team. You've got details. You know, you are there, you are inside. But come the time whereby you are given an opportunity or in such a big institution, so we cannot blame the resources there. There we go for you. Did you equip yourself enough, or did you research? Did you do enough research in order for you to perform your duties? To perform your duties, you also need to equip yourself. And equipping yourself, it means you must go an extra mile as an employee of that organization in order to produce the good result. So. Ngibambele kancane 2 minutes nje kancane
Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back. Let me go to I'll come back. Let me go to Blackberry. Blackberry, welcome to the show. How are you?
Sure, Baba, what's Ukraine?
Man, Imnandi. Blackberry, tell me, what do you think about the standard of South African coaching, and how much does technology analysis, lama ampendwe Sundowns, nama bra that they wear, how much do those things play into our coaches being bad or good? So firstly, what are your general thoughts, and then how does it play into this technology?
Okay, my first general thought is saying having a license, to obtain a license, like a coaching license, it's very overrated. It's really overrated, because obtaining a license, okay, it verifies your job, obviously, but still, a license, I feel like it's very overrated, yabo, because that license won't be coaching. It's the coach that has to be actually working out a new brilliant idea so that the club doesn't sack him, the fans love him, and also the world can see, not coach OT unamasim, Bulindo Pep unamasim, because of why we are Denka, and if he has created a masterpiece, yabo.
Yeah.
So what was the other question? Sorry, Askis.
No. I was asking you about the technology. You know, Sundowns has all types of technology invested in there. They've got analysts. They've got what they have a coach by 3. This and this and this and this. How much does that play into the rest of the coaches and how we see them?
That's the sad part, because like most of our team, I won't make an example of our team as a Petwe Manjung. So in the example, our team as a NFT. Most of them don't have funding, don't have proper funding. Abanye badlala in ama pitches apetayo. Yeah, so like, in order to analyze as a fan or as a scout, you need to go a stadium, and most of abantu abana imali go ibheka. Understand? Low game, because let's say dlala Durban City against Roma United, bese dlala Pirates ne Chiefs. When uzokhethana wena sikhuluma iqiniso. Because Zoketi Pirates Chiefs, because it's the most entertaining one. But if, let's say, you don't know what's going to happen. So I feel like it's lack of investing in the league and also in the what's this? In the team itself, you understand? So yeah, that's one of the things, because I feel like like South African coaches are the best. Jealous Downs, I see good South African coaches. That's the sad part. They're getting sacked left, right, and center, including Pablo Franco. Because if you watch Ebola as a analyst, as a not as a spectator, you can see Guti Pablo Franco into was implementing a defensive structure of Amazul. Because Spanish tactic by busy Katianato. Yabo, yase Italy. Yabo, I learned it from Mulindo Pepe. Yabo, Ngaibega and I'm good. Okay, that thing, it's actually working because he's developing his own tactic. He's getting that all funding. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's how, as fans, we need to see Ebola. Which okay, lo muntu udlala so, coach udlala so, and if we need to commend Lentole, if you understand.
Okay. For time's sake, let me see. Velile. So we.
Hey, ngiyaxolisa man, asengibuyile just
or something there. Okay, for time's sake, I'm gonna ask you. I wanna ask you a question. Could it be that maybe our coaches are complacent? Utentens knows he's gonna leave a job. 2 weeks later, he's gonna pop up somewhere. Bazombiza. Abu Tilenke know that at some point, why do I need to perform if I know that the phone call is gonna come either way? Is that maybe some of what's happening?
I can say yes, some of them are complacent, but kokunye nakhona, if kumele sikhulume iqiniso, if nginguye mina, I might be concerned, because if you look at nomsebenzi awutholayo naye, umsebenzi whereby isikhathi you are a second option.
Yeah.
Ukuthi at least ubani ukhona, and then you'll come and patch it, because which means like the manjalo nabo labantu abaqasha abakuthembi, because they hire baqasha with an expectation ukuthi uzohamba. Uyabona? Because naye ngokwakhe, yes, people can say Udent is a good coach, but is a good coach based on what? On the style of play that is playing, or on the result? Because the style of play that is playing hasn't yielded the result, and of which the results are the primary functions of the team's performance. It's just based just on that. So if he's good, we are going to judge him based on that. So mina like most of this, especially abafake phezulu abakhulu, sometimes nabo they need to take themselves seriously and take coaching as a career. Some of the guys that they've talked about education. Yes, education but it depends on education. Are you going to define it with a person who's certificated or is educated? Because there's a difference there. I can be educated without a certificate. Because it doesn't mean with a certificate I'm not reading that information that you're reading. I can read it. But the problem is that there's no one who's saying, I have read it, then I'm going to recognize you, you have studied it, you know it. But I can know it. So it's up to them now. But as coaches, I do believe you need to constantly innovate, educate yourself, come up with new ideas now. Because if coaching is your career, then you need to invest on it. You cannot just depend on coaches. And sometimes if you have really invested in the career of coaching, you don't need even to send CVs to an agent. Your CV will be your work.
Okay.
No agents need to forward CV to any club for you. CV yakho nje umsebenzi wakho nje kuphela. Thatha umsebenzi wakho serious uzoyibona into ozozenzakalela. And we cannot blame our teams. Teams are businesses. Business directors or chairman, they run their business the way they feel like it. And sometimes that one it depends on someone else. So yeah, you cannot control that one.
Let me go to Vusi. Vusi, welcome to the show. How are you? Vusi, are you with me? Okay, we'll come back to Vusi. Spo, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Sure, I'm feeling right.
Mansimnandi. Spo, Naindaba, what do you think about standards coaching in South Africa, number one, and then number two? Does technology make that much of a difference that laptop i5 when I'm able to laptop a1? Do those things make a difference when you look at coaching standard in SA?
It does make it different because technology, you can't deny it. Like everything now is about technology. But I think the reality is a good coach is a good coach, man. You look at Nabi now. Nabi, without, even if Sereno was not there, Nabi was going to make it different with Kaizer Chiefs because I can see he's a good coach.
Yeah.
you look at Steve Compella. Steve Compella, all the small teams he went to, he always make it different. From Free State Stars, Maritzburg United, Golden Arrows. With small teams, Steve Compella, you can see he is a good team. He's a good coach. Yes, Sundowns, maybe good Chiefs or good Chiefs, but small teams without any budget, you always sustain them on top 8 and around number 10 because that's normally where they belong. But yeah, I'll just make you example Jose Mourinho. When he go to Inter Milan, he went to Inter Milan or winning UEFA, winning league without good players. So this thing, my coach is making a excuse. Maybe we are starting a player right now. If you had a good coach, you find a way. Someone just mentioned la umchita wa Mazulu ukuthi ufike kuMazulu adlala defensive football because he realized maybe ukuthi the way amaZulu angenama resources ngakhona, he need to come with a strategy of playing a defensive football. And then back to the obesikhuluma ngayo yokusayinela ama-coach ama-player. I think big teams, most of them from your PSG, your Madrid, even your Sundowns, they've got scouts who sign players because I don't think you can invest your money, then you allow a coach to sign a player, while coaches, they can only stay for a month or for a week, then they leave. Look at Chelsea now. The reason Chelsea, they have a problem. Every coach who comes to Chelsea always come and change players, always come buy his own players. Most of the coaches, they come. Remember Chelsea, nabo Ibrahim, nabo Otomori, nabo Lofana Morocco, good players.
Yeah.
And then the coach that came in, keep on my players, and then from Lapia Kali Chelsea Moshe foot. So I believe in Guti. Okay, for small team, yes, maybe you can't have a mask out, hang a hamba, ayuk for my player. But for big teams like Sundowns, they've been always having proper scouts who managed to brought Abo Torel, Abo. There's a guy from Holland who was a defender. This guy was a good defender. They managed to bring quality. Yeah, shoot. They managed to bring quality players. They managed to bring Abo Castro. Now they've brought Rivera. Rivera is a top player. It's proven because of their resources, they can go outside Sundowns, get proper talent, and bring it in the country. But with small team, Abo Pulukwane, Abo Maritzburg United, you need a good coach. Last time we were talking about a guy who's coaching Pulukwane City. The guy is good. He's trying with. We only know one player there or two players, but he's doing good. Maritzburg United, Fatu Davis managed to give us we used to watch, I believe all of us about our time we used to watch Maritzburg United
Friday night.
It was very bethathu ebusuku amagame akhona bewamnandi yabo Ndlovu abo Oscar Makaringe abo Maboy lo sodlala ku Sundowns uFatu waqala from nowhere ngala bafana labo abakhuka, they became top players. So somehow some of the coaches, they come to PSL bengazilutho. Some of them from outside the country, they come give us something. Even within the country, yes, Denmark is good with it's the same thing we do Uber for pound to pound. They can give us something, but they need to elevate and win trophies or go to big teams, and then we see what Tina Bangas Niggas on.
If the big teams don't want me, what must I do with the last minute there?
If I think there's no way you a big team if one to prove if Steve Compella was given a chance, would have good Chiefs, was Proville. If Pitso was taken from Supersport, was Figa La Payana, was Proville. If Fatu David at some stage was given the Pirate, was Proville. About the tell is only good even now who's cool man last pendulum and I will meet and I will interview. But the honest then I got proof. That even goes with UCM, yes, is good. But maybe I told maybe team a super sport. I told him maybe it was strong and not the big ones, but the lower are strong and it's the same thing applies. Look at Utintla. Utintla chance, I don't know how many times, but he's not delivering. Look at Cape Town City. You can't have a bomb coach, have all those players you have there, Mara. You're not winning anything, you're not even on top 4.
Okay.
Someone mentioned again in Davaka Penny. Utu Penny went to Cape Town City because Penny, I believe Penny is a good coach. He went to Cape Town City, he won a trophy. He went to Amazulu, they were number 2. Without any special players because he's a good coach.
For time's sake, let me go to Vusi. Let me see if Vusi's back. Vusi, I tried to unmute you. Oh, are you with me?
Okay, sorry, man. Hey, I tried to unmute myself, but I could see that you muted me on your side.
No problem. Vusi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, my brother. Thanks for the opportunity and evening to you.
2 questions. what do you think about the standard of PSL coaching, number one? And then number two, how much does technology and resources play into this? Is Rulani a really good coach, or is Rulani a really good coach because he's got a bunch of things and resources given to him? And is it fair to, compare the coaches like that who don't have?
I mean, one, I will go back to the contract. Do coaches sign the contract for the sake of getting a job, or do they sit with the management and give them their plan? That's the question. Because if I go to a team, for instance, a team like Polokwane City, I've got my style of play. The Polokwane City, obviously, they've got their style of play. But if I go to them and present my plan, and I'm telling them that I'm going to change the style of play, I don't think the management will be involved in that, because I gave them their plan. As soon as they see that my plan is working, they won't be involved. Yeah. For the management to be involved is because the coach, I think the South African coaches don't give them the plan that this is my plan and I don't want you to interfere with my plan. As long as you ask me to execute it, I will definitely do it, because it's my plan. It's my 3-year plan. Then coming
can I ask you, before you go there, before you leave to the next point, can I ask you, but we've seen so many places where a coach was doing really well and they got fired out of the blue. You think about a Siema, you think about Dents, usually you think about, Gavin Hunt at Kaizer Chiefs. You think about so many different coaches who were doing relatively well, but then they got fired. What do you say to that one? Because I'm giving you the results, but you're not letting me continue.
Okay, is the coach, like Gavin Hunt, was he fired because of the results? Because with Gavin Hunt, even today, I still say he had an unfair stage at Kaizer Chiefs, because he wasn't allowed to sign players, remember? So if you say Kaizer Chiefs failed him, Kaizer Chiefs had no opportunity to sign players.
No, I'm saying, but they fired him after doing very well.
Yes,
he did very well.
What made, again, it was the betrayal, I think, that fired Gavin Hunt. It was his assistant coach. So if you are a coach like Coach Pitso Mosimane, he's got his team. Remember, Coach Gavin got Atazwane there. And I still say today, even today, Atazwane wanted that job. That's why Coach Gavin Hunt got fired. Yeah. It's because of the man that you trust next to you is the man that will get you fired. Get your team, you'll never go wrong. Pitso Mosimane today is traveling with his own team. When he gets fired, everyone goes with him. So when you get fired and your assistant coach that you trust stays behind, what does that say to you?
Okay.
It's a matter of, yeah.
No, for time's sake, the technology question, I think you're moving on to that one. Sorry, for time's sake.
Yeah, I think the technology, let's give Rulani his flowers. Let's give him his flowers. If a coach like Rulani was blamed when he lost the game against the Tunisian Experience, they said he spent the whole night on his laptop doing that, of which is something that is very good. You empower. Coach Rulani had like after every game, he goes back and he do his research. So the technology helps you a lot, because now we've got something called Rulani Ball, of which we didn't know about it before. But now Coach Rulani will always come up with new things. He's like a coach like Pep Guardiola, who always wants to improve the game. So I will say the technology help us a lot, but leave the players. Don't compare. Don't say the coaches. Don't judge the coaches based on the technology from the players or for those things they put there. I forgot what they called, because someone will say, but this player covered this much. This one covered that much. It's not the same. But don't judge them based on that. Judge the coach based on his style of play and his results. I'm a Chiefs fan, by the way, but I always followed Coach Rulani's board.
For time's sake, Vusi, thank you so much. Guys, let's tap the screen. Touch the screen, man. Can we get to 30,000 likes then? Can we get to 30,000 likes? I want to ask there in the comments. This is a question for the comments. I hear what everybody's saying about all of that stuff, but it seems very convenient that teams seem to get rid of these coaches. they seem to get rid of these coaches. Or a team doesn't have money for CM, but they've got money for somebody else. So they don't have money for this coach who's done very well, but they've got... Isn't it a bit too convenient? And don't we have to look at the teams and say, "Hey, Maranani, there's something wrong here"? So guys, just let me know. Is it objective? Is it fair when these people get fired, or is it just convenient? And what do you think makes these teams want to go to overseas coaches or go elsewhere when they've got somebody who's doing well right there? Let me see who's here. Just want to see. And part of that question, while I get everybody in, we're all saying it's business. Yeah, it's business, it's business, it's business. But is it good business to take somebody who's doing well for your team currently, get rid of them, and then take a huge risk bringing in somebody who may not even know the league? So what are the teams actually run like businesses, or what do we expect? Agent, welcome to the show. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
No, I'm good. Agent, 2 questions. What are your thoughts about the standard of South African coaches coaching? And then number 2, are the coaches not doing enough for themselves, going out and getting? Why don't they go out to other leagues or go get better certifications? Are they also hurting themselves? And do we see those things on the pitch as much as we speak about these licenses?
Yeah, no, I think the standard of South African coaching is good. And I think that's the problem, that it is good. You know, we have very good managers, but we have very few elite managers. I think that's the main problem. And I'm saying it's good. Obviously, there will always be those who are bad, but if you look at most of the coaches, there's a reason why they keep recycling them, because they know what they're capable of, you know. And you know, when you're in relegation, you know who to call. You know, you call Care, you call Middendorp. You know, if you want to go to the top 8, you know, you'd call Dendance, or you'll call, you know. I think the problem is the management. The management doesn't know how to make the transition from being a middle of the table team to being a top 8 team. You know, it's just not a matter of changing the coach, it's a matter of changing personnel also. You know, with the same squad, you can't tell a coach, now I need top 8. You know, I think I remember Coach Kano saying the similar thing, that, you know, you guys have to give me enough material. You know, you can't tell me you want so and so points with so and material. You know, against so and so teams I'm gonna struggle, but against so teams I can win it. You know, in that 5 cycle. So I think the problem is management, and I think Coach Mangoba said a similar thing where he said Stellis has to be careful, because what killed Golden Arrows after I left was we started to win things and they started to have over expectation, where now getting in the top 8 was enough. If you get a tournament, you're lucky. They decided to say, no, now we want to constantly go into the top 8 and challenge for cups. But what about the material, you know? So I think that's the main problem with the management. And with the coaches also, I think for me to value you, you must value yourself, you know. Don't always jump when people say jump. You have to ask how high, you know. Have a ground, you know. But I guess maybe it's hunger. But if it's hunger, then go outside, you know. Look at what Fadlu is doing at Simba, you know. Look at what Coach Mokana Morewudi is doing in Botswana. Look at what, even though it's starting, Rulani is doing in Wydad, you know. Look at what Pitso Mosimane have achieved, you know. Look at how much at Lance Davids. I'm forgetting the guy who was at MLS. Yeah, the name would come.
Bradley Carnell.
Yeah, doing well. So we have enough coaches, you know. And if you want to see how good of our coaches are, take our teams to Confederations Cup. You will see them doing very well, you know, against the top sides in Africa, you know. So I think we have the capacity, and they just have to take themselves serious. Like I was saying, improve yourself, get a certification. Even on a contract, take yourself serious, you know. I think you have to have an agent who's going to tell you, nope, can take this contract. Don't just coach like Dendens without a contract. You know how people are supposed to take you serious, you know. And like Amazulu, you fired Bain. How are you supposed to take you serious if you're the same people who kicked you out and they all come back to you again? So yeah, they have to take themselves serious, yeah.
And then, Agent, just one last question that I had here. Fan perception, how does it play into how the coaches are perceived? Are we also part of the problem in that, you know, UEFA, what? is better no matter what the results say. But yet, when one of our own homegrown coaches with a CAF B does very well, we don't care. How much does that play into these things?
I think it's what I call a Kaizer Chiefs effect. Kaizer Chiefs in their successful eras, they bring in your Vickises, your whatever, and that created a perception that maybe this is the way to go, and then it so happened that Sundowns tried to adopt that also. We started hiring foreign coaches also, like, okay, maybe this is works, and then Pirates also, we saw them. So the big three in that successful areas, except Sundowns, look to have foreign coaches being successful. So the smaller teams have to emulate that because they want to be in the so-called big teams. So I think it was a culture just developed, by those people, by the big two, if I can put it that way. So I think it's only now that at Sundowns showed under Pitso and others that actually local coaches are good. That's when the trend now shifts to local coaches for the lower side. So the big three teams are the trendsetters, and for coaches, I mean, for fans, we always want success. Where there's success, that's where we'll jump to. And we saw that success came to the white people. You'll even hear someone saying Chiefs is too big for a local, because that's what we've been accustomed to. So fans only just feed off the momentum of the big three. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Let me go to Hansel. Hansel, welcome to the show. How are you?
Mr. Oti unjas.
Ngimnandi man Hansel. Naindaba, what do you think of the standard of South African coaching? And do our coaches take themselves seriously enough for these teams to take them seriously? So this means contracts, this means education, this means, other seminars and what do they do these things? Or are they also just, sitting and being fine with where they are?
Actually, Mr. Oti, the standard of coaching in Mzansi is one that is left to be desired. There is so much factors that contribute to coaching and the success of a team. If you check, a lot of teams, or let's just say a lot of team managements, they are not professional, number one. Number two, they don't like taking accountability. Coaches are always thrown under the bus, right? They don't have patience. They don't have structure. They don't have an identity as a team. Ori, this team has this kind of identity. You see teams like Stellenbosch and Supersport. I always recommend those teams because I always applaud them, because if you check Stellenbosch, it's very easy for Stellenbosch to incorporate the MDC players in the first team because they have a certain culture, they have a certain an identity, right? And you can also check with Supersport, a lot of players that are bought from Supersport by other teams, they usually come to be first team players, right? It shows that they have a certain structure and they have a certain identity and they know how to bring up players, right?
Yeah.
And introduce them to the system. So sometimes it also comes to players also. A coach might be good, but players might not apply what the coach is saying. So it's useless at the end of the day, right? And then there's also an issue of resources. Are the team giving you enough resources for you as a coach to do your job to the fullest, or are there hindrances, or are there problems, or whatsoever, right? And then there's also the issue of coaches taking them serious. I think most of them, they're just looking for the next job. They sometimes they become so relaxed that they are willing to take anything for anything. The likes of Obo Dendens and WCM, sometimes you need to put your foot down as a coach and say, no, I'm not going to take this. You can't fire me where else I was performing, and then you get another coach, and then when that coach is not performing, or if that coach leaves you high and dry, you must come back to me now again. Like sometimes you need to have integrity. You must just say, no, I cannot do this. It's better you get someone else who will be able to give you what you want, because this is not what I want. At the end of the day, it creates a toxic environment, a toxic working environment. You're always thinking, I might get fired at any time. There's no assurance. You understand? So coaches also need to take themselves very serious. And no,
I wanted to ask you, you made the point about Steve Barker, for example.
Yeah.
aren't we still being unfair there too? Because Coach Steve Barker has been at Stellenbosch for a very long time. I think he's got over 200 and something matches, but only really one culling knockout last year. There was, I think, his first trophy in the PSL. He's had all this time. He's been allowed to bring in his whole team and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, he's got the same number of trophies as Dan Dance, for example. But why do we look at them differently? Is identity that important and over results?
You see, with the issue of Steve Barker, I think the team and him also have, I think they have the same vision. They know where they want to be at what time, you understand? So that's where the issue of patience that I mentioned before comes in. You must have realistic expectations, because you can't just say, I'm Marumo Gallants, I'm coming to the league this season. There's Sundowns, there's Pirates, there's Amazul, there's Stellenbosch, and you say, I want to be in the top 5, right? You must have realistic expectations. You must know where you want to be and at what time. You cannot just say, because we were giving you, because you've been in the team for so long, this season you must take the league. There are teams that have been performing non-stop. They've been performing season after season. And it won't be easy for you to just say, no, I'm just going to overturn them and become number one. No, you have to work. Sometimes time is important for you to have a proper structure, because this chopping and changing, that's why a lot of teams, they're getting relegated. They're coming in and out of the league, in and out, because each and every coach has an identity of his own. And a lot of coaches, they can't incorporate... They are not flexible in their thinking. They have a certain style of playing. They cannot incorporate players with their own style and the identity of the team.
For time's sake, let me go to Sean. Sean, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm okay, my guy. How are you?
No, I'm good. Tell me, Sean, standard of coaching in SA, how do you feel about it? And then number two, are our coaches themselves, the ones that we speak about, are they taking themselves seriously? Because if you look at, for example, nobody wanted to get a CAF A license up until FIFA was like, hey, or CAF was like, hey, you need to go get it now. They've all got these CAF A licenses and all of that stuff. How come they're not being proactive? And is it maybe complacency from the coach's side?
I think it's a combination of complacency from the coach's side, complacency from the club side. And I'm glad we brought up Stellenbosch, because Stellenbosch is a good example of a team that come into the league and they respected the league. And I mean this in a sense of they decided to build the team up. You know, they build it up. They didn't just come up and say, well, they didn't buy a status in the PSL and then say we are rivals to Mamelodi Sundowns. You know, they've been building this thing slowly but surely, you know, especially starting from off the pitch culture. You understand? I mean, they got the departments right, they got the scouting right, they got the development right, and that is the important thing. Yeah? Getting the academy right, getting the development right, and then making sure that the culture from the first team trickles down. That's why it's so easy for them to get players from their second team, put them in the first team, and then start playing football. You see. So it's a combination of both, in the sense of the PSL itself is not taking initiative in saying, SAFA is not taking initiative in saying, let's go out and bring out knowledge, because what you need is knowledge. And as soon as you tell people that you need knowledge, they tend to think, no, you're trying to copy Europe. You're not trying to copy Europe. You're trying to say, right now, the knowledge system of football is in Europe. Yeah. So there are different styles of play, and I've seen it happen a lot in Europe, where a lot of sporting directors are invited to certain clubs and by certain academies to come and talk about football, come talk about this game, what makes that game so important, tactics and so forth. And one thing that I think it was Ralph Radniak was talking about was the development of Mane and Firmino, and he said he can't take credit away from Klopp, because what he did with those players, Klopp would have never done. They would have. I mean, what Klopp did with those players, they would have never done with those players. You see, and once we get to that point of honesty, especially when it comes to SuperSport and Sundowns, people are still thanking SuperSport for the performances of Mokwena and Ronwen today. You understand, as if there was no coaching at Sundowns. You know, as if they didn't become better players at Sundowns, as if they would have done the same things they're doing at Sundowns at Supersport. So it's a combination of both, and also desperation. Yeah, we are a defensive league because we don't have money, and club owners are very worried that what's going to happen once I get relegated. Relegation costs a lot of money. You see, so that's why we've become a defensive league. Then the main reason why Italy was known as Serie A was known as a defensive league is because it has money issues. You understand? So you'll have a Sundowns, a Pirates, and a Kaizer Chiefs. But even if those clubs do not defend the league, even if those clubs do not advocate for the improvement of the league, and they're just comfortable in their own position, we're gonna end up with 16 teams for the next 30 years. You know, with coaches that don't want to read, and an association that doesn't want to involve different perspectives and bring different people to come and teach. You see, if you're going to bring in a foreigner, make sure that foreigner comes with knowledge that you don't have. You understand what I mean? So if they don't do that, then you have wasted money, you have wasted time. And another thing that I want to say is, we have an issue with this thing of also, you get a good coach, bad players, and then you want to call him a bad coach. You know, you get good players, a bad coach, and then you want to call them bad players. You see, so it will depend. For the clubs, it's beneficial because then they can finesse their supporters, they can manage their supporters, they can gaslight their supporters. And Kaizer Chiefs has been a perfect example of it. You get good coaches, bad players. You get bad players, good players, bad coaches, and then you just finesse. It's easier for you to make excuses like that. Supersport is doing it with Sundowns. You know, Supersport is the only team in the world where a club comes and buys your players and you still complain. You understand? They didn't steal your players; they bought your players. Instead of you going to buy better players or players of the same quality, you complain. So that's what I think. I think it's a combination of both. Thanks.
Let me go to Nkosi. Nkosi, welcome to the show. How are you?
Welcome, Mr. OT.
Hi,
I'm
man.
very good.
Nkosi, what do you think about the standard of South African coaches? And then do you think that they themselves take themselves seriously as coaches?
I think the level of coaching is not that bad. But I think they need to focus on their confidence as a coach, because also the consistency, to keep the consistency, because, for example, Arteta for Arsenal, he stayed for how many years? And he tried to build Arsenal, the playing style and the defense. Now it's very tight. I think the coaches of South Africa needs knowledge from that. How to improve the players, how to sign quality players for them to play, and also looking to the lower leagues. I think the fields, the facilities they are training on, they are very different than higher league. That's all. Yeah.
So then, how many teams can wait 5 years to get something similar to Arsenal? Because with Arteta, it's been 5 years and hundreds of millions spent. Can other teams do that?
I think they can, but they need a proper coach, and players need a proper coach and players that can fit the playing style in the team in order to progress the team forward.
Yeah.
And
then can I ask you, are we fans the problem sometimes with these coaches and what we expect of them and how we react?
Not that much, but you putting on the pressure to the coaches to make changes. Yes.
Okay. Let me go to Black Viper. Black Viper, welcome to the show. How are you?
Sharp Hotmani.
Black Viper, Kietaba, what do you think about the coaching standard in the PSL? And then number two, are they taking themselves seriously enough as coaches?
Standard is the coaches are on a PSL the drastically. If you can look at for the last 3 to 4 years, who's been at the top of the league? Mamelodi Sundowns. So sometimes Mamelodi Sundowns is superior. That's why Bagulamba League. That's not the case. Now, if you take a look at in those 4 years, Pirates has been number 2 for 3, and then they were missing that spot only in 1 year. That was when Amazulu went to the Champions League, and then Pirates they are CAF Confederations.
Yeah.
So if you could check in 2021, the gap in LA fair enough, but if you can check from 2002 to 2024 last season, check out those gaps. Like from number 2 to number 1, like that's embarrassing for a big team to have such a gap. 23 points, it's embarrassing. So yeah, bonds are the coaches are on. How do you improve? Because now you can't keep telling Batore, Mamelodi Sundowns are sharp or league arona at the top. League arona is weak. What coaches are on about the games are seriously. They don't want to improve, and once they play both teams, Sundowns, but give up even before the game starts. Since mindset of Sundowns, but if they play teams like Pirates, they want to improve. So these coaches, they are selecting games. You can't raise expectations. You must improve. Okay, fine. Leaking at the end of the season, keep top 5, top 7. Keep if I fail, at least take number 9. That's where you should place yourself all team capable. So now the coaches are like, aye, but banka fella Spani for the sake of just mpaya bona cheaper because take a look at how many coaches setting cheaper United. Dingata. And a lot of one coaches are like, aye, cheaper within the next 3 months. So Coach Tarona, they need to improve. They need to challenge, especially challenge Mamelodi Sundowns. They're not doing that. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, can I ask Black Viper before you go? Taba, isn't it also hore? I can coach with fear, but I know I'm going to have a job tomorrow. So even the coaches that we speak about, the moment he's out of a job, next week he's got a new one. Whether he did well, whether he did badly, whether he was fired fair or unfair, the moment he does something that side, he's fired. A week later, he's got a job. Kimo, he got fired by Ibaroka last season before the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, Saliko Maruma Kalans Tom Samaisa, pop up cheaper. How much does that play into this? Because Libona, as much as they're complaining about being taken seriously, man, everywhere.
Yeah, that's why getting Coach Sarona habai value sharp because like you keep on jumping the team and also coach they keep on jumping the teams. Coach already. Which means they are enjoying this by until Batotola team loring it was Hamanya now 3 seasons cup of 4. So it means also Kirata effect of Omenchile. Then on Allen try willing and say sharp the play of saying Allo Baroque. So again, officing they didn't like it. He sounded like a man defeated. Hannibal playoffs, but loser those 2 games. You can't say that to the public. No, you have to convince Bato. And motivate players from outside so that how can I be locker room? It's okay, guys. This is what we're going to do. First half ka kick off. Ra ba trap batho bana, ra ba tshwere ba le cold, re kora goal, we do 1 2 3. If we have to get a red card, we'll get it. That's what good coaches did. Jose Mourinho has done it many times. That's why Ilen Kalabezi bolo, because only coach, come on, the opportunity moments, you have to pick moments which you tell re wina 1-0, this is Sundowns and re dlala final. So kapang ku ye ntse re lwetseng ra take the red card, hafula batho bao. Whatever it is that you do, we must win this game. So coach Sakona, they don't have the heart. Ba rata o tshaba ho nka di risks. I don't care, this is Pirates. Take the red card. Nsamaswangani gaming so that batho ba ske ba dlala. So coach Sakona, they need to improve, they need to pick moments or ra dlala big team. This is what I'm going to do. Because ke batla kai top 5 at the end of the season. So coach Sakona, they're not doing well. Haba improve, haba tsebo ho innovate. They're just going to complain resources. Yes, you don't have resources, but you have players. And a player that's how we tseba ka ofela re mang strong guy, mang o tseba o etsa eng, ke mang a tlang kapelang batho, ke mang a tlang korela ka di free kick. You need to pick upon those things because free kicks, they are the most dangerous things in football. Now let free kicks. Kaizer Chiefs used to be one of those teams in a derby. Una tseba free kick fela o kotsing but o hlaba. So coach Sabona no. Hadisana ntwi.
Okay. No, Black Piper. Thank you so much, guys. Mara, you guys are not tapping the screen. Mara, 18K. Copa 25. Okay, just tap the screen. It's free. Please tap the screen. Let's go. Okay, let me go to the final panel for tonight. And this is going to be a solutions panel. I want to speak about solutions here. So if you're jumping into this last one, I want to hear, man, what do we do? How do we make this better? Where do we go from here? How do we bring our coaches up a level? What must be done? Let me see who was here. Guys, please mute when you come in. I don't know what you guys are watching in the background. Let me see. Hey, guys, it keeps jumping. I'm trying to put Edgar in here. Okay, let me go. Tyler, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. OT, how's it?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Tell me, I've got 3 things I need from you.
Yeah.
In your time. General thoughts about the standard of coaching, number 1. Number 2, is the coaching market in South Africa competitive? Is it actually competitive, or are we, watching the same coaches float around? And then number 3, how do we create more elite coaches? What should we do?
Okay, let me start it this way, OT. There's a saying that says, unless you change who you are, you will always have what you got. So there is no way that we expect coaches or the South African football to change, whereas we know the style of play half of these coaches are playing. You know what to expect from 10-10. You know what to expect from Manoba. You know what to expect from Steve. You know what to expect in almost all the South African coaches. They don't want to educate themselves, number one, because the fact that they were even arguing and fighting this thing of getting licenses, to me, it was a shock to me.
Yeah.
Because if you really love this thing and you really want to improve the product and you really want to improve yourself, personal development is key. OT, very critical, because you need to evolve. You need yourself when you need to evolve. You need to be innovative and creative. So they were fighting that thing. They were even proud to say, "Mina, I just, I don't even have this B license, but I'm a coach, but I'm winning." And the question was, how are you winning? And I think thanks to Coach Rulani, because he really showed us and improved our South African football.
Because if you have Den and you play against Rulani, you know Den the type of play. But with Rulani, you don't know what tactics is he going to deploy on that day, and that speaks to innovation and creativity, right? So then you have another issue where you have, I think the other speaker put it very well. He said we're a defensive league. Why? Because you see, after 5 games, you've employed this guy and you've lost about 3 games in a row. The first thing the management do is to chase you, and they try to get another coach who's going to put them in position 5 because they know that guy, he specialized about position 5, right? They don't take time to look at themselves. I think I once indicated to you to say, this thing is like business. When you have a business, you have long-term objectives, short-term objectives, and those things, are they clear? And are they trickling down to the coach and also to the players? And that speaks to the type of coach that you need in your team and the type of players that you need. So the resources as well are very critical in this thing, because otherwise you keep changing them. You keep doing what is happening now, because people are trying to protect this thing, their teams. But also with management, do they have sponsors to sustain this thing instead of just being comfortable in position 4, in position 10, in 11, and fighting for relegation? And if you check that, even with the standard of football we have, towards the end of the season, you see teams are raising their standard of play because they want to save the status. And you ask yourself, where was this performance all along? Where was this performance with all these teams? Now players are playing and all of that. And there is this thing with South African coaches, when they play against Chiefs, Sundowns, Pirates, they have to raise their standard of coaching. Even the players are also motivated, So there's this inconsistency as well with that. But I think, just to answer you on the latter question, what is it that needs to happen? I think the SAFA has already started enforcing this thing. Enforce education. Enforce it. It's critical. You cannot be in a profession and don't want to go and learn. It can't. How are you going to learn new things? So I think it's very important when OT to go to school and learn and be innovative. And also, I would like to also encourage the PSL teams to have those strategic relations with teams overseas. Ajax used to do it, where they partner with Ajax Amsterdam. Cheaper, I think they've done it as well. Thanks, OT.
For time, Tyler. Let me go to Sbu. Sbu, welcome to the show. How are you? Sbu?
Hi, OT, how are you?
No, I'm good, Sbu. I've got 3 things. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I've got 3 things. 1, what are your general thoughts? Number 2, how do we create more elite coaches? And number 3, is our coaching market competitive?
Just to answer the third question, I don't think so. No, it is not competitive enough. I think the finances should play a big role in this one. PSL should be at least more, in terms of payments. The grant, because the grant becomes the effect, the financial effect, because these players need to travel. This is how they get the equipment that we're speaking about. So finance plays a big role.
But can I ask on that point? But now you've got Siema here, you don't want to pay him, let's say. But then at the same time, you're willing to go to Germany and go fly that guy in with his whole team and pay all of those monies. Is it really finance, or is it just they don't want to spend the monies with local coaches?
No, I mean, and in terms of finance, I mean the whole team, not only the coach, but I mean the whole team. You know, they running the team as a business. You know,
Okay.
yeah. And this thing of maybe, let me say, a player or team that is undermining the coach, you know, or the mindset of saying a local coach is not good enough. I think it's just a mindset, you know. You know, I think in terms of them being good enough, they are good enough. Some of them are very good, like 10-10s. If 10-10s could get a proper team that backs him up, he could be very, very, he could be deadly, you know. And it we do have good coaches. Gavin Hunt is one of them. Even Rulani, you know, Rulani is something else, you know. And I think Rulani has paved the way for everyone, in fact, and the direction. You know, it's not only about playing or coaching, but it's about brotherhood. You know, you create that system that you and the players, you know, die for one another. You know, you die on the line, they die for you in the field. You know, I think it should be more about that. You know, but in terms of the growth and the standard of coaching, I think finance could play a big role, you know. If maybe the grants were more, you know, because there's teams which know how to run, like, financially. TS Galaxy, they are doing well. You know, they don't have money, but they know how to balance their check. They know how to organize, you know, how to travel, you know, how to book stadiums. They are very good in terms of finance. So for me, I think, yes, we do have the good coaches. In terms of when you look at their average, they are good. It's just that the standard of football needs to be raised, you know, in terms of finance. If they invest more, we can attract more, yes, in terms of foreign players, but we can also have a proper structure in terms of development.
Okay, no, smooth. Thank you. Let me go to Muzaro. Muzaro, welcome to the show. How are you?
No, man, I'm alright to myself, bro, OT.
No, I'm good. Muzaro, three things. What are your general thoughts about coaching in South Africa? And then how do we create more elite coaches? And is the coaching market competitive?
Yeah, so such a well-rounded question. First question, how is the standard of coaches? I think our standard of coaches is it's decent if you consider the African climate in terms of our African coaches. We've been able to export your Pitso Mosimane, Fado Davis, your mokwena, and we've got Benny McCarthy up in Manchester, who was in Manchester United as a striker coach. So I think our footballing knowledge is very decent. I just think we need to get to a point where we standardize our soccer education in terms of development, in terms of going forward, where everybody can be like on the same level, where, you know, if we can standardize it, like everybody understands in terms of like a mandate, and everybody has to have a structure. You know, when you formalize a specific sector like coaching, because South African coaching hasn't been sort of like formally formalized in a sense, when you have coaches that were busy arguing to not get like FIFA licenses, you know. So imagine if there was, I think there is a coaches association, but if the coaches association would be more stringent in terms of making sure that the coaches have their education and they know in terms of how to basically have their organogram in terms of how they structure their teams, in terms of how they work. And with that said, if you look at like with the exploits of Arsene Wenger came in, was very young. He came in with these, he revolutionized soccer with his knowledge, with his football knowledge, in terms of, it wasn't so much about playing soccer. He came in with that nutritional aspect into football, you know, the theory behind football in terms of like the physics, the science behind football. And that's why he was able to last, because he was able to build players technically. And I think, with guys like Pitso Mosimane starting agencies, I think it would also be good if they also venture out into markets of developing his colleagues, like the coaches in and around him, having those workshops to develop more coaches. Because and also, if you look at the way our coaches have been sort of like filtering through different clubs, I feel that when you formalize that, I think, and they treat themselves as professionals, it would make it very difficult for them to get exploited by these different CEOs. You understand? Like as I've been listening, you have a Siema that coaches a club without a contract, which is totally flawed. And if there's systems within our footballing systems that don't allow for somebody to be pushing a job without a contract, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So, my man, it's a lot. I just feel SAFA needs to step up. We need to, like, as fans, as football lovers, to put pressure on SAFA to stop this whole gatekeeping in terms of like developing our coaches. As much, I think our coaches are very decent. If you look at it, like there's like our African colleagues out there have been struggling to ship out their coaches. You understand? Yeah. So we're on a good step. We just need to formalize it. And if you look at it, the last foreign coach to win the PSL, I think it was Baxter. So it says a lot about South African coaches. So from I think, with that said, the last time a team won, a foreign team won, a foreign coach won the PSL. It was when Baxter was coaching Kaizer Chiefs, and ever since it has been South African coaches in Mamelodi Sundowns with that dominance and Pitso Jingles trying to develop a system for our South African soccer. And even if you look at like Clive Barker was able to make us qualify to the World Cup using the DNA of South African soccer. And then what did we do? Safa fires him and hires that Frenchman, Philippe Trouzier. And at that time, Clive Barker was still adjusting from playing in Africa to now playing in Europe. And they now behave, and the Safa behaved like a cheaper United. and they got rid of Barker by the panic, and they got us Philippe Trouzier, who did not understand South African soccer, its DNA. So I think also our footballing team owners have been sabotaging our coaches and our football. I think it's a range of things. Themselves as well, the coaches, they need to develop themselves and make themselves more professional.
For time's sake, I'm going to go to Edgar. Edgar, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good evening, Oti. I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good. Edgar, 3 questions. What are your general thoughts about the standard of South African coaches? Number 2, how do we create more elite coaches? And number 3, is our coaching market competitive?
Firstly, disclaimer, quick one. I'm going to speak from a coach's point of view.
Okay.
I hope I don't get my head chowed. So,
no problem.
Firstly, our coaches' market is not as competitive as it could be, because I'm going to play the devil's advocate. We've got colleagues who are not willing to take up coaching education. They simply don't believe in the evolution of football. They don't believe in football outside of their communities. Believe it or not, you still have 60-year-olds who believe soccer originated in Alexandria somewhere. Such type of things. So at the same time, you've got coaches who are really keen on learning and developing and grasping new ways of improving their teams. Because one thing about football, it is a performance-based job. If you're not performing, you're out. No matter what you say, what you like, never mind the fans, but if you're not performing, it's going to be on the papers. It will be recorded. The ref will give their report. You are out. So our pool is not so strong as it should be, because we are stuck there where we've got colleagues who have got this vast knowledge because they played before, they're legends, but they're not willing to just take it one step further in advancing their knowledge and learning more about football, like the development football, what has happened since they've left football, you know, what has improved, what has changed, what can they add on to, and so on. And you know, just my general thought about the whole coaching scenario in our country. For me, I feel like I'll give an example with myself. I attained my CAF B license in 2015, and since then it's been an up and down. You're looking for a job, you're looking for a professional, but if you've never really played pro, you're not gonna bump into opportunities, because these clubs are looking for people who've played. They believe that's where good coaches are. They believe that's where they will get the best knowledge or training and so on. So then you end up with people like me who maybe played up until amateur, and now I decided, look, I'm gonna further my studies in football, but now I can't find a job because I'm not a familiar face in football circles. I'm not a familiar face. So that's the other challenge. That's why we are not picking out the cream of the crop. I've worked with guys, local guys in schools even, who are excellent coaches. You can give that guy Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates. They can take them somewhere. They're excellent, but because they are not familiar faces, and they're well qualified, you know. I recently worked for a club about 2 years ago, and I sat in a meeting where we had to introduce ourselves and say who we are, what kind of qualifications we hold, and I was surprised. We've got UEFA's, we've got Scottish FA's qualifications sitting in that room, but all we're doing is coaching GDL kids. You know what I'm saying? Because we are not familiar faces in the football circles, and that is what is literally stopping clubs from picking out the cream of the crop in these countries. In this country,
Can I ask you very quickly? Can I ask you very quickly the last question while you have some time? Is this maybe caused also by the managements themselves, because those guys are also old crocs most of the time? When you look at the TDs and you look at the people who would be hiring a coach, it's older guys who have those old. How much does that play into the coaches' fight here?
That is very true, because listen, we still, if I could describe soccer in South Africa, I'd say we are still in a development phase, because everyone is still stuck in that thing to say there's a custodian of football. Therefore, if you haven't played football, if I don't know you, if you are not popular, if you are not the number 10, then you're not good enough. It doesn't matter what you know. Football is known by playing. So truly, yes, the club owners who also are all crocos and still hold that mentality, they do contribute a lot to that system failing of hiring coaches that are cream of the crop in this country. Because I believe some of them just need time. You know, every coach needs time to develop their own identity, their own style of play.
For time's sake, I need to go to Ngocha. Oh, also, Edgar, well done on the CAF B, man. Well done. It's nice to have somebody here. I'm going to grill you one day to find out what's in that course. Let me go to Ngocha.
Appreciate that.
Ngocha, welcome to the show. How are you, my brother?
I'm okay, bro. I'm okay. How's everyone?
3 questions. I'm good. 3 questions. What do you think about the standard of South African coaching? And then how do we create more elite coaches? And is it actually competitive?
I think we have good coaches in South Africa. But the approach of how to use them and how to place them and how to effectively have them either support other coaches and work well with other coaches, it's new to the bosses. Because if you look at the picture right there, that's like a bench of 2 teams only. All these coaches should not be head coaches. Most of them should be assistants, should be a specialist at least at one part of 1 or 2 parts of coaching. Instead, everyone wants to be the head coach. And that what makes it difficult to bring a good number of coaches
and to help development. Another point is our development is terrible because all of us who can coach want to be head coaches of a big team before we even spend time in development. And what happens is if you look at England, they don't have the best coaches in terms of the English coaches, but they have the best development. So almost every team is able to develop a good amount of players to have an average coach coach them, and they're consistent at a certain level. In South Africa, no matter how talented you are, if you're not well developed, it's going to be difficult to be consistent to the end of the season. Yeah, man. And that's what we notice. All these coaches, they may be good at coaching, but you can't coach someone who can't keep 5 games or 6 games being consistent and doing the same things. And that's what happens with teams. You'd find that they win against a big team, and then after they just dwindle down because most of the players were not developed properly. And we could have just won this thing by having most of these coaches who are now idle statistically fit into development spaces of clubs by SAFA or by the clubs themselves, to have these coaches actually be a better part in developing players. And in future, the more they bring the coaches into the first team, they'll have 3 or 4 coaches who are very good, instead of having one Mangoba and assistants that are not known. And then the point that my brother mentioned now, the nepotism thing, is a problem, because you have to be this one's son. You have to be this. Someone has to vouch for you. Even though you have a CV that's strong, someone has to vouch for you. And once you go and coach in the white schools, they're carrying your qualification, you're gonna be outcast when it comes to the other idiski thing. Because as far as when township soccer is playing, we don't see this coach. Yeah, and even when coaching, even when developing, what other clubs and scouts look for. They look for how your team plays, the showboating and whatever, instead of looking at the tactics, which is the core of what you can do. So yes, we're in a good space, but we need the heads of SAFAs and clubs to just use the coaches better, because I think you've got the gems, but if you don't know how to make jewelry, they're just gonna look like stones, and that's what's happening with most coaches.
Okay. Ngocha, I want to ask you something I asked earlier on. How much does fan perception come into how we feel about these coaches, or public perception or publicity? How much does that play into how we feel about coaches?
How we feel about coaches comes with the result that they show. And that's the end result of all the proper things that should be done. So just like how Mangoba came in now, and immediately a lot of people start criticizing him for everything because he lost one game. Meanwhile, when we watched all the games they played, they just dominated. So whatever perception we've had or other people have had is pointless, because this is a good coach and has been great for many years, but we easily criticize him. Same when a new coach comes in that we all don't know. When it's a white coach, we say, let's give him time, When it's a new black coach, one loss, we start attacking him. Even when he has all the credentials of that even trumps a white coach from Italy or a white coach from Scandinavia. What we've said ourselves as fans is that we want to be more than just fans, and our criticism of people shouldn't be based on what we know, because most of the time you hear a lot of people who love soccer don't know soccer. But the chairmen who are the ones choosing these coaches should choose according to what do they want, because this thing of having one main coach and thinking Dan is going to do everything by himself. Look what's happened in Chiefs. That man said, I want to bring come there with 4 or 5 people, even if it's good. We don't know whether it's him that's good or the 4 or 5 people that he brought in that makes the changes. But that's what modern football has asked of coaches or of clubs, to bring a set of coaches so that they can help the team do better.
No, gotcha. Thank you so much. Guys, please remember, today there's 20 people that have spoken on these shows. If you arrive late or you don't request on time, you may not get in. Guys, I want to close it, but I want to give you my thoughts, and I'll tell you my thoughts. I want to look at it from four spaces. I'm going to start with us fans. I say this all the time. It's easy to trick us because we are trickable. I want to use Kaizer Chiefs as the example. Kaizer Chiefs fires coaches, had been firing coaches. I don't remember fans actually being that angry at management to the point that they're angry at the coach. So now teams can do those type of things where they just go, guys, now the team is doing badly, we fire them, it's a reset because the fans are not going to look at us. So Nati, we have to take responsibility in how we see these coaches. And another important thing about us fans is that we only get angry when it's loud. That's the problem. So for example, right, there's plenty of coaches in the league that we don't even look at. We don't even see, we don't question, we don't have anything, we don't say anything because they're just not in our view line. Of course, pound for pound is only maybe out of a job because he made a noise. But there's guys who have been coaching. I used Coach Steve Barker as an example, not to say that he's a bad coach, not to say that he was a good coach. All I'm saying is, Coach Barker has been with Stellenbosch for how many years? And he only won a trophy last year. And he only got into the sports, CAF and all of those things last season. But not once have we sat down and said, yeah, Coach Barker, what. So some of the people get away with it because Nati, we only look at noise, man. We only look at noise and drama. And we also make it very easy for these teams to put the coaches in front of us and fire the coaches. And then what do? We go back. No, Chiefs. Fire coach. You are so angry at Unseki. He gets fired. You relax again. Like Kevin Johnson is starting over. Kevin Johnson, you get angry, Gedunabi. But we don't question up there because up there is very important. And where I want to go next is up there. When we look at management, that's another problem. The managements of our clubs, man, they're not all the way there. How can you have Coach Dance today, and then tomorrow you have Coach Truta, and then the next day Ernst Middendorp is walking in? How do you find consistency with those things? How do you find consistency of your style of play? If every day you're going to be bringing in these different coaches, the coaches that they find, how much work has been done by managements when they go get a coach? Those who have watched the show know the example I always use. Manchester City started speaking to Pep a year before Pep was set to walk into the club. Because as a club, they decided that, okay, we need to move in a different direction. Therefore, I'm going to get the former TD Pep before I bring in Pep. I'm going to make sure the money's right before I bring in Pep to make sure that everything runs. When we look at these clubs, we forget when Liverpool brought in Klopp, they fired a bunch of people in the back because they were getting ready for him to come in and they changed a lot of things. How many of our clubs take the time to go and groom a coach or to go and find the proper coach and go do research for the proper coaches? How many of our clubs? If someone is fired today and then 2 weeks later there's a replacement, what thought has gone into bringing in that coach? What does that look like for your development? Your pipeline from DDC to first team? What does it look like for your signings? If I sign today and I just take anybody and then I fire the coach and I bring in somebody who doesn't even play like the coach, next thing the team is not playing well because we don't have the right stuff around us. How much investment are these managements putting into these clubs? Coach Kanu was here saying that he had to ask for analysis, technology, equipment. He had to ask. And at the time, he was coaching a team that has been in the league for what, 26 years. One of the older teams in the league in terms of when we look at who's been there the whole time. How then are you going to go compete with Rulani then? When Rulani and Sundowns have put in money and they've gone, okay, fine. Coach, you've got Rulani, you've got Coach Mangoba, you've got Coach Steve, you've got this one, you've got an analyst, you've got 5 of this, you've got 7 of this, you've got that. There's heart rate monitors, there's people, there's all of these things. How are you expecting the coaches to compete? Another thing that management keeps doing as well is back your man. Fans didn't choose the coach. You chose him. So now when it gets rough, you need to stand behind him. Do you know why we don't make a noise about Kimang Parker? We don't make a noise because Stellenbosch ownership has told us a long time ago that no, this is our guy. Niakala, nia complain and nenzani. This is our guy. Remember when Coach Pitso came in at Mamelodi Sundowns? When it was the first year and everybody was going crazy. Patrice Motsepe, Dr. Patrice Motsepe came out and said, you guys can cry, you can complain, you can do whatever. This is my guy. I'm done with changing coaches like socks. And the other part is that we know this because when Dan is at TS Galaxy, nobody's saying he's the most amazing coach. License. UEFA, what license? We need to upgrade the league. We need to do 1, 2, and 3, 4. Look at the record. And Dan has a trophy with TS Galaxy. But the owner wasn't behind backing them. Look at Chiefs management right now and how they are speaking about Nabi. They weren't speaking that way about Ntseki or protecting him. They weren't speaking that way about Tshwane, about Gavin. So Nati, our managements as well are an issue. The last thing I want to speak about with management is also, guys, just like the coaches, it's the same people that are running these clubs. I'll give you an example. Royal AM. Remember what happened when John Maduka got fired? Who fired him? Sinkimnisi. Allegedly. Sinkimnisi fires him, they fight, they do whatever, they let him go. He's the CEO of Royal AM right now. He's back in a higher position. When we look at Abo, God rest his soul, Abo Prasted, when we look at all of the different people that actually run the teams in the background, it's the same people who will hire the same. Guys, we saw Cabo Zondo come into Royal AM. No disrespect to Coach Cabo Zondo. We saw him coming in. And managements are very important because they make the decisions to bring in players and coaches and all of those things. They're the big reason why we are seeing the same thing. Marumo Callens has Coach 10-10 on speed dial. It's getting tough. Instead of actually looking at themselves and saying, let's go get somebody else. Let's go do our work. Let's go fetch Uzbanbani. There's a coach that's promising. We'll speak about the talented guys. Remember the Tontol coach? Where's the Tontol coach right now? Everybody was saying, hey, Tontol, where is he right now? How many of them have come through the ranks? How many of them are actually making it to the PSL? And now it's even worse because the PSL coaches are coaching in the NFD now. And Middendorp is in the NFD right now. And Dance was in the NFD not so long ago. Abo Coach Morgan Mamila were in the NFD not so long ago. So which chances do we have to bring people in there? And who's to blame? It has to be the management. The buck stops with them. Then I want to speak about, before I get to coaches, I want to speak about representation. Representation is such an important thing in football. When Maufunugio's culture without having a contract, who is in your ear as your rep telling you, no, don't do that? There's no way. And we see this with players, we're seeing it with coaches. Who are the people advising them to say, Yazdi, you coach 10-10s, Coach Siema, when you go and coach King Kukune, your contract is going to be airtight. We're going to make sure that if they fire you and do 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to get compensated. Oh, it's very hard to fire. Guys, Dylan Shepherd is apparently still at Kaizer Chiefs, strictly because that contract is airtight. It's only now that they were able to move him to development. That probably cost Chiefs a lot. Why? Because his representation mattered. I was watching when Royal AM was going through what Royal AM was going through with Nurkovic, and they phoned his contract. They phoned his agent, and his agent didn't care for PSL clubs, didn't care for reputations, didn't care for relationships, didn't care for any of that stuff. He came in to do a job. Hi guys, not till the contract, man, it doesn't make sense. Please change it or else we're not doing it. Who are the guys? Who are the guys who are behind the coaches, who are advising them? Now, Baba coach, going into the coaches, can you please take yourself seriously? Please. If every team knows, Marumo Gallants knows that when I call Coach Tentens, he's going to come. Booting him Faranjani last time, what happened the previous time, how I screwed him over, how I did this, how I did that. He's going to come running. Do you know what's going to happen? That's where we're all going to put you. We're going to put you into that box. Hey, Gunzima, the coach that I really wanted is not working out, and I need a patching coach for now. Let's get him in because he's going to come. Hey, the coach that I wanted is a little bit too expensive. You know what? Let me call around. There's this one that will come in and take the job for now. And when I need to move him out, I'll be able to move him out very quickly. They need to take themselves seriously. Number one. Number two, can you please go and do your licenses and go and do your extra programs? Coach Pitso, Coach Pitso always goes, Coach Pitso always speaks about the different courses and things that he goes to in order to make himself better. When you speak to Coach Pitso, a lot of the times you don't hear him speaking about, the tactics or whatever. Now he's talking psychology. Now he's talking structure, team building, all of those things. Now he's sitting in courses with Boas and Wenger and all of those guys in order to make himself better. In order to make sure that, okay, fine, let me cover the other things. I've said plenty of times on the show that we have a lot of great coaches. We don't have a lot of managers. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe you need the guys who are going to go out and get the extra stuff and come in and actually move it forward, because Nabo, they're not creative. They're not bringing anything to the game. They're not changing anything. We complain here, when we speak here all the time, we complain about, oh, it's halftime, you haven't made this change. Oh, it's this, you haven't seen this. Oh, it's that, you haven't seen that. When are we going to see them get better at those type of things? And then number three, guys, if you don't care, if you see that the big teams are not going to, there's no day where Pirates, let's be honest, there's no day where Orlando Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs, Mamelodi Sundowns, there's not a day when those teams are going to call Coach Tentens. There's no way. And there'll come a time where, Coach Tentens, you can't keep going to First Division, you can't keep going back to Marumo Gallants. Why don't you go overseas, man? Why don't you go to other leagues? Now, Fadlu Davids, Simba's coach right now, doing very well that side. You see what Abo Zimbabwe did when they left the country. But yet our coaches confine themselves here, and then they wonder, oh, I'm waiting for Chiefs to call me one day. I'm waiting for Sundowns to call me one day. I don't be proactive and say, you know what, guys, let me go coach in Zambia for a little bit. Abo Middendorp do it all the time. Coach Middendorp left the country. How many times has Coach Middendorp left South Africa to go coach somewhere else? He was in Tanzania not so long ago. Whatever happened, he left. He was in Germany, in the 3rd division of Germany, came back. It's fine. Here will always, Marumo Gallants will always call you Coach Tentens. Why? Go try somewhere else. Go build your legend somewhere else. And it goes to the grander point here is that there's so much complacency within the league. So much complacency. The teams don't want to try anything new or get better. They're fine. As long as my team is in the PSL, it's cool. The coaches don't want to try anything new because they also know that, Tentens deep down, he also knows, who coached Tentens, he also knows that if something happens to me, my phone is going to ring tomorrow. Baraka got rid of him. 2 weeks later, he's got a job. Gallants will get rid of him. 2 weeks later, he'll have another job. So I think there's a lot of complacency within our league when it comes to these things. And sometimes, man, I just wish our coaches, even our players, even our managements could be just, be imaginative. Try something new. Change things. Do things that may shake. Because as much as we keep saying, no, they're defensive because they don't want, half of those teams keep fighting relegation, are in the zone for the whole season. So is your safety actually keeping you safe? Now over Richards Bay, every day they're fighting. Richards Bay came out and they told us about coaches. They got rid of Coach Kanu, only to bring Coach Truta. And I'm not saying Coach Truta is a bad coach, but what better have we seen? You know why Sundowns is where Sundowns is? It's because they take themselves seriously from the top all the way down. I'm going to take a South African coach and I'm going to trust them. And I understand that those South African coaches are trying to get better, but I'm going to give them resources. We're going to sign the players. We're going to do the deeds, the things that we need to do in order to make sure they're successful. But a lot of these teams, the one part that I hate, just to close, a lot of these teams will bring in someone who's extremely talented, who's very good, not take them seriously, fire them, and go fetch some random coach from Europe who struggles in the South African game. But no, you'll give them all of the things, you'll back them, you'll do all of that stuff. That needs to also end if we are going to grow. But anyway, guys, Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. I am here. It is a 2-hour show. I have gone over a little bit. But thank you so much to the people that jumped into the comments, that liked the page, that jumped into the panels. Thank you to those watching on YouTube, guys. It's been great. Gotcha, thank you for the rose boo. Thank you for the gift on that side. Guys, these episodes, if you came in late, they are available in full on YouTube, so you can watch that, as well as content that I release for myself. That I put up. I did a breakdown of why Kaizer Chiefs defense is a little bit wonky at times. That is available on YouTube and on Facebook. This show is on every Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. And then, of course, if Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, Bafana, Banyana Bastyle, UWC are playing, we are going to be here watching those games live. So please also join me for the watch-alongs and support, guys. Support us, content creators. There isn't a lot of places where we can speak about football deeply amongst ourselves as fans and ask big questions. And it's not run by a former football player or Thomas or whoever. This is the place where we can meet. So help us keep these places up by supporting us as much as you can, sharing our videos, liking our videos, watching the videos, joining subscriptions. Guys, there is a WhatsApp group where we go past 2 hours, where it's 24 hours open. We have incredible minds. You've heard some of them there. We have some great conversations there. It's a great place, always buzzing. We learn, we banter, videos, voice notes, all of that stuff. If you want to join, please click on the link in my profile. So if you're on TikTok, there's a link in my profile. Click on community membership. It'll take you to YouTube, where you click on join, and you'll gain access to the WhatsApp group, and we can continue having these conversations and other conversations over there. But guys, it's been great. I'll see you then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Tomorrow is the members show. So those guys who are in the WhatsApp group tomorrow, they get to pick the topic and they get to speak. So a lot of you here will be able to watch, but you won't be able to come in because it is a membership perk of mine to give my members a show where they speak and you get to hear a part of some of the conversations that we have. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you guys then tomorrow at 7 p.m. Bye, everyone. Follow if you have not followed. Follow if you have not followed. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Lindani.